Live. What's going on, online community? I need a better name for that. What's up, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, IG, TikTok, whoever's watching this, YouTube. We're back again and we're talking about ADHD and sex. This is like a continuation of yesterday's live where we were talking about ADHD and relationships. And we started to talk a little bit about, ADHD and sexual issues, dysfunction, sex in general. But we didn't get too deep into it. But tonight we're gonna do that. We're gonna get pretty deep into it. I'm watching myself. I got the dual monitor set up. I'm watching myself on my iPad as well, and I'm actually watching on YouTube just to see how I look. Actually, it's throwing me off, so we're gonna take that off. I see myself 3 times. But what's going on, everybody? I'm looking. Caitlin with the energy. Thank you so much. Come here. Puppy. Say hey. Say hey. My puppy right here. We're going to be talking about ADHD and sex, and she's here. Look at her. She has no idea what she's doing. Oh, boy. Where's everybody checking in from tonight? Let's go ahead and drop your location in the comments, and let's get going. Like I said, we're talking about ADHD and sex tonight. And I actually have a very interesting article pulled up right here. We got Indiana in the house. We got New Jersey in the house. DeMont, Indiana. Puppy. Yep, we got the puppy here. Riley, I appreciate it. I love all of my supporters. Thank you so much for the love. We just hit 150,000 last time I checked, so that's super exciting. I really, really appreciate that. I got 2 articles I want to pull up. I got 2 articles. One is pertaining to teens and romantic relationships, and the other one is just, in adults with ADHD, right? And like I said, we're talking about relationships, sex, and ADHD. And I don't know, I don't have a moderator right now, but this, I don't know. On TikTok, I have a bit of a younger audience, younger demographic. I would argue that the people who follow me on Facebook are a little older, so they kind of, they're geared for conversations like this. But we'll go ahead and get into it. Richmond, Virginia. Christina, this is live. Tampa in the house. Georgetown, Kentucky. New York, Connecticut, Oregon, England via Seattle. Orange Park, Florida. Yee! A lot of energy tonight, so I'm excited. But in this article that I have pulled up, to my left, you're right on camera, it's called Prevalence of Sexual Dysfunctions and Other Sexual Disorders in Adults with ADHD compared to the general population, right? So now we're comparing. This is exciting. Follow me here. We're comparing adults with ADHD to adults that don't have ADHD, right? And we're looking at sexual dysfunctions. And what stood out to me? Let me tell you all what stood out to me. The part that stood out is the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, right? I like to put numbers on something so that way I know what's going on. Like, you have to tell me 50%, 15, 75, 80, 100%. Whatever the case is, I need to know so that way I can kind of quantify it. And here it says, this article, I can't even pronounce the author's names. Looks like they have foreign names. Article was written in 2018 March off of PubMed. But here, the sentence that caught my eye, let me talk about it. We found that 39% of the males and 43% of the female ADHD patients had symptoms of a sexual dysfunction. 17% of the males and 5% of the females, 5% of female patients had symptoms of any other sexual disorder. Right. Okay. So the last part right there, of any other. Okay. All right. I get it. But the sentence I like is that 39% of the men and 43% of the women with ADHD in this study right here had a sexual dysfunction. I think that's of course, ADHD is not the only mental health condition that your sex life is going to be impaired. I think of depression. Depression comes to mind when I think of sexual dysfunction. Depression has a way of knocking out people's sex drive and sometimes increasing it. Like I've heard that from patients. And also the antidepressants, as we know, sometimes have a way of knocking out your sex drive. So that's depression has its own thing, but with ADHD, you also have it. And I would love to get you all's feedback on this. So when you all hear that stat, this is going to be interactive. When you hear that stat, that 39% of men with ADHD and 43% of women with ADHD had symptoms of a sexual dysfunction. What are you all's thoughts when you hear that? I want to know what you all's thoughts. Someone says, I've been married 7 years in a couple of weeks and hasn't. Oh, wow. Oh, Chris. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. And yes, Carly, we do live streams out here. Maria, so I'm happy Maria says define dysfunction. Like and obviously like I would have to have access. See how you get access to the full article? I gotta buy it for $39.95. Guys, I apologize. I probably should have bought it beforehand, or I should have figured out a way to get the whole article because I want to see how they define sexual dysfunction. I think that's important that you mentioned that because the definition of sexual dysfunction could be different depending on who's writing the article. Somebody said, what makes a woman uninterested? I think that's a little off topic. Someone says, maybe this is why I have never had an orgasm with penetration. So Tanya, I don't know if that's just an ADHD thing. It could be though. I cannot say that definitively, but I have heard stories just like that, from patients where they say something just like that. Either a difficulty having an orgasm or, not able to get one with penetration. So a lot of people share that feeling. And Laisha says, with my ADHD, I feel like I become unstoppable. So keep in mind, it's not the same for everybody. Some people with ADHD might have a super high, sex drive, or they may not have any sexual dysfunction. So I don't want to make like a blanket statement and say, oh, everybody with ADHD is going to struggle with this, I love your transparency. Juvia. I like that name. Jamie says, what do you mean? Yes, Libby, I agree. And I wanted to know, this is a preview of, can I get access to this article? Oh wow, you need access via your institution. Oh, Mickey Ficky. I'm not with Augusta University anymore, so I can't I cannot get the article. Oh boy. But actually all right, hold. This is what we'll do. All right, so this website like Beaumont. All right, so Beaumont. All right. So Beaumont here, they're describing the types of sexual dysfunction in men and women. I'm going to read that here. This is a different website. This is not the website that wrote the article. So I do want to mention that this is Beaumont.org, whereas the article is coming from PubMed. So they could have a different definition of sexual dysfunction, but I'm going to read what Beaumont has here. I'm looking at people's comments. Libby says Prozac helped hypersexuality. Right. So once again, that could be a desired result. We know how the antidepressants might, reduce your sex drive. If you feel like it's too much, then you have a desired result. So it's different for everybody. So I love Mickey Ficky. Mickey Ficky. Sarah says, if sex goes on too long, I get distracted by my thoughts and the things around me. I've heard that so many times as well. It's important to talk about it. We've really got to talk about it because you might, or actually your partner might feel like they're not performing or doing what they have to do, but you're just like in your own world and you're just enjoying life, right? But you're in the middle of, the Mickey Ficky, right? All right, so let me talk about the types of sexual dysfunction according to Beaumont.org. desire disorders, right? These desires affect sexual desire and interest in sex, right? Also known as libido disorders or low libido, right? So you might not have a desire for sex, right? And you might be frustrated that, oh, I lost my desire for sex. Then you have arousal disorders. These disorders make it difficult or impossible to become physically aroused during sexual activity. It can occur in both men and women. The most common in men, as we know, is erectile dysfunction. Um, and this is when, you have the desire for arousal, and you're interested in sexual activity, but you can't get, you know, any satisfaction because you're not performing like you want to be performing. So that right there can be very, very frustrating. Um, I mean, as a man, I can feel how that would be frustrating. Then you have orgasm disorders. These involve the absence of orgasm or delayed orgasm, and they're a common problem with women, but they can occur in men. And then the last category of sexual dysfunction is pain disorders. These involve pain during intercourse, can affect both men and women. Women, pain can be caused by vaginal dryness, urinary tract infections, hormonal changes during menopause, other conditions, just to name a few. So these are the categories of sexual dysfunction, right? And go back to that article, the first article that I had. And as this show goes on, I'm going to have to figure out how I can, and I know there's a way to do this with StreamYard. I know because I've seen people do it, how to take an article and then bring it to my screen and like put it like right here and like scroll through it. Like, I think that would be dope. And my skills are not there yet, but I would love to get there. And let me look at people's, please repeat them. All right, I'll repeat them one more time. So the types of sexual dysfunction in men and women: desire disorders, arousal disorders, orgasm disorders, and pain disorders. Right. Jennifer said, "Is there hyper focused sexuality with ADHD?" What do you mean by that question, Jennifer? And James says, "Common in women because a lot of men don't take the time." Right. So that right there, I don't think that's ADHD. I think that's just maybe a guy rushing, to take care of business and the lady needing more time. I think that can happen with anybody. We don't have to put everything right and blame ADHD for everything. ADHD gets blamed for a lot, but we can't blame everything on ADHD. Uh, and someone says no desire or arousal. So I've had patients who they don't have much of a desire or the need or want to be aroused, and for them, some of them say it's okay, and if they say it's okay for them, then that's fine. The majority of my patients who have told me this, it hasn't been that many. I want to say that they were single. I think if you're in a relationship, and you feel this way, whether it's coming from ADHD or something else, I think that's when it can get pretty frustrating. For us, is being goofy during sex. Hey, if it works for you, then I love it. So I've noticed when I'm in the mood, my boyfriend is not, and when he's in the mood, I'm not. That can be frustrating too. But communication can help that out. Someone says, "I can't pay attention long enough to get aroused." And Karen, sometimes you can, and I didn't mean to laugh at you, but I'm saying sometimes if you and your partner can like turn it into like somebody was saying that, they have fun. Like if you can make it a fun thing and laugh about it, then I think laughing can help to cut into some of the shame, if there is any shame. Um, I, I'm Hispanic. I throw my husband a chancleta if he gets his. I don't know what that is. Somebody tell me what a chancleta is. But it sounds funny. It sounds funny. When I have more stuff to do, I can't get that I'm hypersexual as a distraction, I think. Oh wow. How's that for awareness? Too much to type. I had a high too much type, but I'm a huge communicator and she isn't. I had a high sex drive prior to marriage, and once I got married, the frustration of being misunderstood has ruined things. So right there, that comment, I like that comment. And I want to pause right there for a second because sometimes it's not the fact that a guy can't get up or a girl is not aroused, right? It just might be the fact that you're arguing with somebody over and over and over and over again. And like I've been in that situation where, I'm talking to somebody, you're dating them, woo woo, this, that, and the third. And the more you argue and argue and argue, like I've physically seen the woman become less attractive in my eyes because we're arguing, and I'm sure she feels the same way about me. So as you argue and go back and forth, and you bump heads, sometimes that could be coming from the irritability if you have ADHD and you deal with emotional dysregulation and mood swings and all this different stuff. But the more you argue with somebody, um, sometimes for me personally, there's no evidence for me to back this up, but for me, sometimes it cuts into the attraction, and you're just like, you know, I can see how people get the roommate vibe, where they see their husband or wife and they're like, ah, this person is still breathing. Um, I didn't realize that could be from my ADHD. I've never had a desire for sex. I always have to fake for my husband. Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, these are real issues that people are having. So it's important to create a safe space to where we can talk about it, right? And cut into that shame. Um, Hurtful words during arguments ruins everything. Definitely does. And even for me personally, I like the things I say, to my friends and in relationships, like I'm mindful to just not be an asshole, right? You can be upset, but sometimes think about what you're gonna say, But if you're struggling with impulsivity and you're just like having like verbal diarrhea, you might say something, and then as you say, it, you're like, shit, I didn't want to say that, but you said it, and you can't take it back. You can't take it back. Um, Look, Shantae the boss says communication helps everything. If you get distracted, tell them to talk nasty or something. All right. So Shantae says if y'all get distracted while y'all are doing the Mickey Ficky, just tell your partner to talk nasty or something, whatever that means. I think I know what nasty means. I have no idea what something means. My ADHD is checking out your chair and hearing your keyboard. Weird shit. That was for you. Um, uh, Time for makeup. Makeup sex. Yeah, but that's one way to do it. That's one way to do it. Resentment can kill sexual. Yeah, I agree. Resentment can kill all types of relationships. A relationship with your boss, with your employees, with your friends. Just having that resentment for somebody. That's why it's important to speak up. Like you can choose to not say certain things, and you might like harbor that resentment for somebody, and that's not a healthy way to go about doing things. I got a I got a friend coming over to collab. I thought it's Shira. I thought we were gonna collab on this live, but knowing how LA traffic is, I'm like, let me just go live and talk about this topic, and then we'll collab later on. A chancleta is a flip flop. I'm gonna call up all my Hispanic friends, and I'm gonna find a way to use chancleta in a sentence, and they're gonna be like, "You just learned that word today." I'll be like, "Yeah." I have to stand the flip flop. Thank you, my community. It looks like my Facebook family helped me out with that. Chancleta. I like that. Jan says hypersexuality is hard to control, especially when you're with someone you're attracted to. I agree. I think yeah, and I think we could have a whole topic on hypersexuality, honestly, because I remember I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she had literature, and she was showing me like the literature, and like I already know that depression can like kill your sex drive, right? And she showed me this literature, and I know it, but then she was arguing, and she had other articles and other anecdotal stories from her patients, and she was saying, I see that my depressed patients have a higher sex drive, and I'm like, why do you think that, right? And keep in mind, this friend of mine is a psychiatrist, so this is not like your everyday conversation you have at Chick-fil-A when you hang out with your friends. But at least for me, I thought that was fascinating. I'm like, why would you get more hypersexual the more depressed you get? I don't know, but it's just interesting stuff. And once again, we can go down the rabbit hole and we can just look into it and see what we come up with. Someone says, why sex feels like a stress reliever and state of calm for us who have ADHD? Well, you're burning calories. That's why I think you're burning calories and you're being active. I think the body is meant to move. Like you need to move around. And when I say move, I mean like getting exercise. But if that's your way to get exercise, then It works. Maria says makeup sex is for your 20s. What happens when you turn 30? I turned 30 in November. Like, is there a secret that everybody 30 and above is hiding from us? Maria, can somebody elaborate on that? Can somebody elaborate on that? I turned 30 soon. What's the secret that the people know that I don't know? Don't be giving your money. Hey, I'm not endorsing any restaurant. That's just where I ate at. Oh no, Amanda, I'm living for a long time. I'm living for a long time. I asked the same thing. I'm being treated for anxiety and depression. Okay. It's a distraction. Shantae says, talk. No, Shantae, I'm not embarrassed to read it. I'll read it out. I'll read it out. This is a topic that affects real people, and we could talk about it. I don't think my publicist is going to get upset. Shantae says, talk nasty or touch other areas that cause all of the attention to go to that area for you. I was trying to be PG. I respect it. I'm actually curious, how does cannabis affect ADHD and sex? Violet, y'all are asking some good ass questions, and whenever you hear me say y'all are asking some good ass questions, that means that I don't know the answer. I would imagine, once again, cannabis affects people differently. One person might take it and go into a psychotic episode based off of their DNA. Another person, might feel like Wiz Khalifa and drop, a Grammy, hit single or something like that. But I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say that it would probably increase your sex drive. That would be my best guess. But that's a good question. That's a good question, and I love it when y'all ask me questions and I don't know the answer. I think that makes me weird or something. But like I like not knowing the answer, because then I have topics to research and go down the rabbit hole. And I think that's very interesting. Ooh, that's a really, really good one right there. Someone says definitely can have a TV in the bedroom. I got a TV in my bedroom. And Sarah says, what exactly is hypersexuality? I would just say, like, if you ask me, it's being sexual to the point where it's above like whatever is normal for you, and it's different for some people. Some people like it this many times a week, that many times a week. But I would say it's above that marker for you. This ADHD cause you to be clingy in relationships. I don't know if I can directly say it like that, but you could, maybe struggle with issues, things such as boundaries because of ADHD. And somebody says, "Well, I'm depressed. My sex drive is really high. It's weird." I need to get to the bottom of it. It's kind of like Scooby Doo, where I think it's Scooby Doo where they take the mask off at the end of the bad guy. Like, I got to get to I got to get to the bottom of that. I got to get to the bottom of that. It's really yeah. I don't know all the answers, and sometimes it's good to say that, right? Because like when I'm posting content online, and all these platforms, I'm looking at the Facebooks and the YouTubes and the IG and TikToks, if they give me as a medical professional a blue check mark and they verify me, then you have to make sure that you're talking about evidence-based information when you're talking about certain things online. So I mean, I'll post the singing videos and the skits and comedy videos here and there. Y'all can see my dog in the back. I'll post those videos here and there, but at the end of the day, even if I play the next Spider-Man or something, I still have to respect my educational background, and people will see doctor of something and then they'll expect the information to be reputable. So I have to I just gotta make sure that I know what I'm talking about. I just need to go back and look at the literature, because you talk about ADHD, sex, and cannabis, then who is that study on it? Let me go back and see what the articles say. After your 20s, you learn to speak your damn mind, and make up with words. Then the physical comes naturally. This comes from Maria. Maria, thank you so much. Yes, Jamie, we will definitely have, and this show is brand new, guys. I made this show up like on the spot. I came up with it. I'm like, and I didn't have a name for it. So I said, we're just going to call it Late Night with Dr. Kojo, because it's 9:34 on the East Coast and it's 6 o'clock here in California. So I just came up with the show on this spot. And I told myself, we need to go live Monday through Thursday, because I tell y'all how important routine and consistency is. But like as we go, we might dedicate a week to like this week might be ADHD in relationships or ADHD in sex, and then maybe next week we're talking about you know cannabis, or we're talking about other psychoactive substances. And of course, like I'm gonna make sure that um you talk about it appropriately. I don't want to promote anything. I don't want to look like I'm promoting this or saying that this thing isn't good. So there's a way to speak about it, and I think I'm doing okay. Tiffany says 6 in your 30s is better than in your 20s. Haha. I like how she said that. Sex in your 30s is better than in your 20s. Haha. And someone said my issue is hyposexuality. It took a long time to find out the symptom. And I'm happy that you're able to find that out. Sometimes that could save a marriage. Hey, so my little dog. Maria, yeah, like I think people gravitate towards things that are genuine. So if like you want somebody, or if I was watching this live stream, I would want somebody to tell me the truth. I don't want somebody to like just shove BS, here because people will listen. I want the truth. No, that's a dog. It's not a cat. It's a dog. I have never felt more understood than I do now that I've seen your reels. Thank you, Vanessa Amber. I really appreciate that. That's one of the best compliments that I can get. There's studies that have been done, depression and high sex drive. Yeah, Bella, I need to go grab those studies. And the beauty of not like working full time is that now I have time to like just look through studies and see who wrote it, and see what type of study is it. Is it randomized control trial? Like I need to dissect it before I just say, oh, I like this study, right? I could make a study myself, and I could go ask all my friends, right? All my friends that are women, that have had issues with depression, and say, was your sex drive higher or lower, right? If I make up this Kojo study and I put it out online, it's not a reputable thing because it's not a randomized control trial. Like it's not something that you had the official process to put a study out. So I gotta make sure. What made you decide to resign your job? You seem to be so full of knowledge. Dana, I think I spoke about this on the podcast, but for me, I have different needs, right? I have a need to help people. So if I'm working at the hospital and I'm trying to help people and it doesn't work, I'm going to get frustrated. And I was able to help people back in Virginia at the state hospital, and I think I did a good job of doing that. I think I did a good job. Like I worked my ass off every day, came early, stayed late. So I think I did that. But I also had like a need to like entertain and like do fun stuff. And not that my job wasn't fun. It's not supposed to be fun. Like you're taking care of people, like actual people. So my priority was to make sure that they were okay. And then of course we could joke around here and there, but the element of fun, like now, like this is fun. Like if this wasn't fun, I wouldn't come out here every day and do this. So like I'm just having more fun. I don't know how else to say it. It seems like a kiddie thing to say, like as adults, we have things we gotta take care of. We gotta pay, bills and rent. I gotta pay my assistants, and like I have to be on my grown man, right? But sometimes in life you just have to have fun, right? Is sexuality supposed to be more fluid, or is it that having ADHD and being hypersexual is the reason that it makes it hard to be in a committed relationship? May, I'm not sure if I understand your question, at least the first part, but I'll say that the last part with I think hypersexuality with in a committed relationship makes things hard. Unless you have somebody who's like they meet you stride for stride, right? If both y'all are like have a high sex drive and you happen to work from home, right? Then I guess you have a fun lunch break, right? Or whatever the case is. Oh my gosh. Anyways, all right. ADHD and sex sounds like a great time. I'm being serious. Yeah, the entrepreneurship, like I don't know, I just enjoy it more. Personally, I enjoy it more. And Libby says learning is fun. Yeah, this is fun. Like I've had fun, being on social media, talking about these topics, doing my little dance, like I've had fun doing all that. Like I'm just having fun, and I realized in the pandemic, people weren't having fun. Like we're stuck in the house. We're not having human connection. And I think, like we're talking about sex today, like there's something to be said about like during sex, like you have a human connection. And it might not be the act, but like you're around somebody on an intimate level. Of course, this is somebody who like you want to do this with, but just like forget that. Just like having people, like just being able to go to the dog park, because that's what I do, and have a random conversation with a stranger, or going up to Ralph's or Kroger on the East Coast, or Winn Dixie, whatever grocery store y'all have where you're from, Food Line, and just talking to the person behind you and laughing. Like human beings, like it's bad for your mental health to be isolated. So there's something to be said about the human connection. Would you recommend people with ADHD in a relationship with someone else with ADHD? All right, so the question is worded kind of weird, and I felt like I was reading weird, but you're asking if people with ADHD could be in a relationship with people who also have ADHD, and yeah, I think so. No two people with ADHD are like. Somebody might have strengths where the other person is weak, and then vice versa. So good communication will solve everything, even if you have to put a reminder on your phone to communicate with your partner. Tracy, I appreciate that. Um, uh, Janet's talking explicit. Um, the G spot and change positions. Okay. I'm gonna have some kids watching. I don't know if kids are watching or maybe my parents are watching. Oh boy. Uh, Christina says, I enjoy your videos. I wish they were longer. Christina, I'm experimenting with more long form content, but I'll keep putting out the short form content as well. Um, let me see. Pandemic fucking me up mentally. I got help on Zoloft. Sex drive lessened, but extensive cuddling has been the best. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Coming from Twitch. Okay. Okay. We got people coming in from Twitch. That's exciting for me. And I like so Kyle, right? I'm assuming Kyle is a man. I know you can't sue nowadays. So assuming you're a man, right? Gotta be very like correct, don't want to get canceled. But I like the trade-off here, right? You said the pandemic, it messed you up, you got help, you got on Zoloft, it messed up or it lessened your sex drive, but you're able to cuddle with your partner, and it's been the best in your marriage. That right there, that's what you just did, whether you know it or not. It was like a form of cognitive reframing. You took something that was negative, right? Tell any guy or just tell any person, I'm gonna give you a pill that's gonna, make you feel lighter and help out with the depression, but it might mess up your sex drive, right? Or it might lower it. And it actually does, and you were able to reframe that into something that was beneficial for you and your partner. So that's really good. Zoe, give me this ball. Give me this ball. Give me this ball. Why are dogs so annoying? Like, give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. There we go. There we go. She's doing it on purpose so that I can play with her. I'll play with her later. Yeah, cognitive reframing is very useful. I do that. Look at the dog. Look at the dog. Zoe. Oh boy. She's looking at me like, this guy is really gonna not give me the ball. What? What? Tamika from Detroit, how are you doing? Thank you for your comment. I appreciate that, Tamika. Um, in my 30s, have ADHD and have never experienced an orgasm, either independently or with a partner, and it's definitely not for lack of trying. My brain just has zero chill. My GYN says the good news is there's nothing physically wrong with you. The bad news is There is nothing physically wrong with you. Yeah. So Kimberly, I once again, that's not my specialty. Like I'm, you know, I'm not the person who would know how to like help somebody who struggles, because they don't have or like they can't get an orgasm. But like I think if you do your best to try, that's the best that you can do. And I can understand how that can be very frustrating. That can be very frustrating. But I do agree with the GYN. I don't believe that there's anything fundamentally wrong with you. That this might be a struggle. You know, yeah, sex therapists can be very helpful. A sex therapist can be very helpful. Um, Ashley, coming from LinkedIn, what's going on, my fellow Psych MP? Kyle, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. Spilling thoughts into the interwebs helps me feel better. Yeah, so Kyle, I like that comment too. Like, I gotta give you a love for the show. Kyle gets a love for the show because, I used to like when I first started posting on social media, I'm like, why is a stranger DMing me and telling me their whole life story, right? Because like I felt like I had to reply to DMs like when I first started. So like I would try to reply, and like now I know that for legal reasons sometimes I can't reply to a lot of the messages, right? So for the most part, I'm handicapped. I can't really reply to messages. But when people DM me, I don't mind because sometimes that's their way of just getting it off their chest, and maybe that's what they have to do. But I can't legally tell people to DM me their problems or what's going on because I don't want to open myself up to issues, right? But you can't control people sending you messages. But I get why somebody would send a message and how it makes them feel better. So Kyle, yeah, I'm happy that we have this safe space, and you're watching on Twitch. That's exciting. I saw the little Twitch thingy on there, and that's cool. I bought this whole setup, this whole computer, all this stuff for Twitch, and I was not consistent with it. Maybe that was like an ADHD new interest for me, and I spent maybe $1,500 on the computer, and I'm like, I'm gonna be a Twitch streamer. And my career never took off, but it allowed me to connect with you on this level. So if that's all I got from it, then it's still worth it. Yeah, Zoe's she's a mini Australian Shepherd. That's what she is. Yeah, it was cathartic. Oh, you want Zoe? Lisa, you can dog sit Zoe. You can dog sit. All right, okay. Stay there then. Stay there. You can dog sit Zoe uh, for the rest of January. My goodness. What's the most common issues people with ADHD complain about in their sex lives? Ah, actually, I'll pose that question to everybody. What do you all think is the most common issue that people with ADHD complain about in regards to their sex life? I would say, the first one that comes to mind is like the mood swings, the irritability, and the distractibility, but mainly like the mood swings, like being upset with somebody and really being upset or being hurt by what they said, right? If somebody said something that hurt you, especially if it's your partner, it's gonna be very hard for you to get over that, right? Like they just called you out or they just hinted that you were fat, and now they want to do the Mickey Ficky with you. It doesn't work like that, right? You're gonna be a little hurt. So that's what I would say. The mood swings. Yeah. If I had to guess, I would say that's what I think. This is my opinion, of course. Veronica, I appreciate you not being on the same page. Carly, yeah, that right there, I agree with that. Distraction is my biggest issue. Mismatched sex drives, I agree with that. Sophia, I'm happy I can help out. And see, when people like I've never met Sophia before, right? But when she says you've helped me out so much, that feeling right there, that's like putting the best gas in the Ferrari. Like I could drive so fast now, after seeing comments like that. But with the mismatched sex drives, it reminds me of my uncle. Right, my uncle was given uh, advice to my cousin. My cousin is in his 30s, and he was giving advice to him about marriage, and he pretty much told my cousin his only piece of advice for marriage was if you have a high sex drive, find a woman who has a high sex drive and marry her. That's all he said. He said pretty much make sure that the drives are matched So sit down, sit down. And I can see how that's solid advice. Now, obviously, I think to sustain a marriage, you need more than that, right? But that that's solid advice. Um, uh, Jamie, I appreciate you. Where can we? So, Erica, what I would say, if you're having issues with, um, uh, you know, like anything ADHD related or even sex drive, low, high, I would recommend a good place to start is your primary care provider, right? So your PCP that you see, that your family sees, or your kids might see, that's a really good place to start. And if it's too much for them, they can refer you to a mental health professional, a psychiatrist, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, a sex therapist. But I say that your primary care provider is an excellent place to start because they're a medical professional, right? And they have the training to help you out. And if they don't know, they can point you in the right direction. Queen Law, Ms. Morris, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Intrusive thoughts, that could be a whole topic. Janet K. Brown, I appreciate this. I'm having fun. Uh, what's it with noises and ADHD? I made a video about sensory issues and ADHD, and I'm gonna make another one because noises tend to like drive me crazy. Like I'm sitting here, like I live in LA, and if I open my window right now, I can hear Los Angeles. I can hear you know, I can hear and I live in the valley, so I can see planes flying over me. I would imagine they're flying kind of low, so I would imagine that they're flying to the Burbank airport. I can hear like sirens and stuff. So sometimes like I open the window for fresh air, but like I hear so much, I can't be distracted if I can hear Los Angeles outside. So sensory issues can definitely be very, very frustrating. During sex, is it possible to have insecurities as a person with ADHD? I think anybody can have insecurities, right? That's not an ADHD thing. Like with ADHD, you might feel it more, but I think anybody can have um, insecurities. So that's what I would say. Being in an abusive relationship kill. Christina, I can see how that could mess up your drive. And if anybody is in a relationship where they don't feel safe, I just recommend that they get around some friends who are not judgmental, but also whatever steps they can take towards finding a safe space and getting away from any type of threat or harm. Um, that's all I can say on that. Zoe, what's wrong with you, Zoe? Um, Same here. Lots of noise driving me insane, especially the same noise over and over. I agree. Jessica has a really good question. Any tips for sensory overload when it comes to intimacy? Let's see. Okay. Oh, so Shira's here, so we gotta go collab. Let me answer this last question, and then I'll get out your way. Any tips for sensory overload when it comes to intimacy? I would say communicate with your partner. Let them know that the toaster going off, the microwave beeping, the dishwasher ringing, the dryer going off. Those things frustrate you, and let them know. And then if you have to put like the AirPods in your ears or whatever, like that's fine. But let them know so that way they know what's going on and they're not like left out in the dark or whatever. So that's what I gotta say. Man, I'm having fun. I could go on and on, but I gotta get to this collab. And yeah, you all continue to leave comments. You can still comment on the video, especially if you're on Facebook, and people can use the comments and have like turn to a thread and like maybe use it as a way to like get some information or just learn or support each other or add somebody and become a friend with them. But I got to get out of here. I got to sign off. I've been on for 44 minutes. That's not bad. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I got to get off, y'all. I love all y'all. Thank you for giving me this platform and this, safe space where we can just get on here and just chill and just talk. So y'all have a fantastic night. Be safe. And I'll see you all tomorrow, Wednesday, 9 o'clock East Coast, 6 o'clock out here in California. Peace.